Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Fluffenbusters, where we put on a movie we love and create our own feature-length commentary. Today, it's part 2 of our series on Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, the special editions, with this episode covering the second half, aka the second disc, of Fellowship of the Ring. However, this isn't just an intro from me, it's also a bit of a warning and an explanation too. As I mentioned on the last show, these recordings were from well over a year ago and were recorded before Dee and I really knew what we wanted to do with the channel. We just knew we enjoyed the process of chatting while these films played, letting the conversation flow where it may, and we didn't want to just hyper-focus on wikifacts or overreact to every single thing happening on the screen. Now, because of that, we decided to let the conversation just flow. So we spend, in this recording, huge chunks of time talking about other topics like Alan Reacher, Henry Cavill, cinema stats, and even other franchises like Transformers. Now, the points and views we air here do feed back to Fellowship at times, and of course we do touch on the film, of course we do. But I'll admit, this is a very, very different approach to a conventional fan commentary. At the end of the show, we even talk about how we're going to develop this sort of format, how much we enjoy it. And it's those actions that we're going to be taking forward into the shows planned for next year. And at this point, you might say, well, why on earth is Adam saying this? Doesn't he want us to keep listening? Well, yes, I'd love to. But I also have to set expectations at the start. Your time is valuable, and if you like the idea of what we're doing and how we're going to develop it, then please stick around, follow our channel, follow our journey. As for these Lord of the Rings tracks, they're for those of you who fancy something a little bit gentler, more random in terms of a commentary over the Christmas period. Or you just like the idea of a couple of chaps waffling in the background while you work on creative projects or rapping or whatever else is going on in your world. So, with that rather odd intro done, I'll pass you back to our former selves for a very quick intro from Dee as he puts the second disc on.
Hey, hello folks, welcome to the second half of Fluffenbusters tackling the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring Extended Edition. I am Mr. D, joined over by Mr. White.
Hello, good evening.
And we're going to pick up right where we left off. Sadly, we've had to jump over to YouTube because iTunes decided to play silly buggers and wouldn't let me play the video. So we're jumping straight into the action post-Council of Elrond. And honestly, this is some good stuff right here.
Sorry, this is off YouTube.
It is. Basically, back in the day, there was when they were dishing out digital downloads of all the films, they went from iTunes, gradually shifted. There was another service, I forget its name, and when that service closed, it moved across to Google Videos, and then when Google closed their video thing, they translated everything across to YouTube.
Ah, okay.
And the Steelbook of Fellowship came with a code for this film, so I just randomly have a second digital copy of the film in another library altogether.
Oh, fantastic.
It's handy.
Hmm.
It's still a very weird way to watch movies, to be honest. The YouTube interaction is odd.
It's such a grey area as well now. There are films that you can see in their entirety on YouTube, and obviously they've been uploaded by, well, some of them are reputable sites.
Yeah.
And there's never any kickback to them. And yet, I'm not even going to say it, but I know there is a particular song, and if I was to like literally talk, just pronounce in normal speech 2 of the lines of the chorus, automated bots would find it and copyright strike this video.
Yeah.
just because of that. And it's so weird, the rules and regulations.
It is. I mean, it's like a few months back, I was really wanting to watch the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare,
Hmm.
Guy Ritchie's dalliance into World War II heroics with the sainted Cavill,
Ah.
and because it looked like being a good laugh, to be honest, and
Hmm.
some spectacular moustaches on display. And honestly, it had a lot of actors I've got a lot of time for. I mean, Babs Aldmanson from Strange New Worlds, uh, Alan Richardson, who currently
Hmm.
is the Jack Reacher everyone really wanted because
Yeah,
he just looks like he's walked out of a comic strip. And it's really the only man who can make Henry Cavill look like a normal person.
that's true, actually.
Because if you have Cavill's a slab of beef, Richardson's an American slab of beef, so has all those extra ingredients pumped into him. I kid. He by all accounts, he's actually quite a nice chap who puts the time in.
Apparently, he is very, very humble. His image is positive. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I've read multiple interviews with him where he comes across very well.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, he and his wife take their kids with them on almost every production he's a part of because they don't want to split anyone up.
Mm.
So fair play to him on that score. And to be fair, he's put the time in because he was Aquaman back in the Smallville days.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's not put time in. I mean, he was in that Titan show on Netflix a few years back, which he left to do Reacher, but he was one of the more entertaining elements of that as well.
Mm.
But he's put the time in to get to where he is. So fair play to him.
He's one of those nearly men who, for years has almost been on
Mm.
the cusp. And you hear about these people, especially when you look at older films.
Mm.
And they will have gone through 20, 30 films where they did okay, but they never quite hit that big time.
Yeah.
And it's nice that this guy has hit it with Reacher, is sticking by the show, and is doing other stuff as well. But it's weird because kind of like Cavill as well, he feels comfortable in an ensemble, and he seems to enjoy that. It's something. It's weird because this spins it into this. If Lord of the Rings was being made today, Cavill, I would put in straight away.
I'd love to see him play Boromir, to be fair.
Yes, absolutely.
Aragorn's a tougher prospect. I mean, you could probably just get Viggo even today because the man just seems to get more rugged with age
That's true.
and more esoteric. It's actually an interesting concept of casting a modern Fellowship because this film could have gone vastly differently. I mean, Sean Connery as Gandalf,
Yes.
Stuart Townsend as Aragorn.
We should probably say so. This is a bit. It's a bit DVD because they had to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
But also it's a bit. It's one of those as well. It's like YouTube. Did you realize things? Which constantly comes up. So of course they're trying to make this massive film, and it's going to be what 3 years? 3 years in New Zealand, which is suddenly not going to be appealing to a lot of people.
I think the initial production was a year and a half.
Okay.
And then folks came back over the next 3 years as required for pickups. So, like, it's still not a small commitment to make. I mean,
No.
it's still one of the biggest single film projects ever undertaken.
By the way, this ushered in Hollywood making films and sequels, or sequel number 2 and 3 together. So after this, you had a lot more of it. It wasn't the first film to shoot a whole load of stuff together. All sorts of films have been doing it since the 70s.
Yeah.
But this I think became known for its multiple shoots. But because it required a time commitment from the actors, it meant that when they cast for this, they cast wide,
Yeah.
They were obviously going for particular looks that were not star making. So they did go out to an awful lot of people.
Yeah.
But with Gandalf, that's where you could technically get away with stunt casting. I don't know. Do you think? Do you think that's the case? Like if a Connery or a
I think so. 'Cause, Gandalf's kind of like the the glue character
yeah
for a lot of the film that you need him to bring everyone together, and then he kind of, he steps away for the latter half of this film after the next sequence, pretty much, and he doesn't really return until about a quarter of the way through Two Towers,
yeah true
and then he is a much different character. He's a much more action orientated character at that point. So, but he's also one of the more. He is probably from. He is, I think, from the character that's the most important to cast right.
yeah
Connery, at this point in his career, he would have been late 60s, early 70s. He was coming off not a run of films in the 90s that weren't terrible by any stretch. He had The Rock, which had given him a bit of a late career renaissance, and this is before the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen basically pushed him into retirement because of the experiences he and the director both had, and they're falling out on that film.
yeah
But Connery, for one thing, he was at this point he was still a very expensive actor,
yeah
and he kind of had been for most of the last 2 decades. At this point, he was paid a ridiculous sum for literally 5 minutes on Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves,
yeah
to come in at the very end. So it's a different one because I don't think he's the actor that he couldn't have delivered as Gandalf, but I don't think Gandalf would have benefited from his performance.
yeah
Whereas Ian McKellen really embraced the character. Connery would have been Connery as Gandalf. McKellen is
is
Gandalf.
Gandalf. Yeah,
Yeah.
agree.
And it's kind of an interesting contrast because you have, of course, Christopher Lee as Saruman. And he really, like McKellen, he just is Saruman so perfectly.
And yet he really, really wanted to play Gandalf.
Yeah, famously so.
Yeah, like famous to the point where he pushed for an audition even after McCallum was almost like a cert.
Yeah,
But I think it was just because he wanted the chance to do it.
yeah,
And you can, I know there's a lot that you could read into that about actors being lovies and stuff like that. But here was a guy who genuinely cared about the law.
yeah.
And it was like let's just say the Make a Wish.
Yeah,
You know, if you could any of those things where I want to be an Avenger for the day, and Robert Downey turns up and puts you in a weird clunky tinfoil costume.
yeah,
So his Christopher Lee's dream would have been Gandalf.
yeah. Famously, he was the only member of the production crew who had met Tolkien,
Yes.
and he was quite happy to tell people he was reading Lord of the Rings once a year, pretty much right up to the end of his life. If I remember right, I think with Gandalf, he also there's one interview where he admitted that as much as he wanted to play Gandalf, he does accept that he actually wasn't physically able to at that point in his life,
Yeah.
and Saruman was a better fit for him, which is an interesting one itself because it gives rise to the prospect of Christopher Lee as Gandalf. Because Lee didn't play a lot of heroes over his career,
No.
but when he did, in things like Devil Rides Out, that sort of thing, God could he be a hero? And partly that was I mean, his career as a villain really helped make that special when he did play a hero.
Yeah.
But it's a fact. I mean, I could talk for hours about Christopher Lee because his life, the stuff that we only know hints of, is
He is the ultimate in Renaissance man.
yeah.
You have some actors now who are sort of doing it.
Mm.
Now I've forgotten his name. Star Wars played Han Solo's son.
Oh, Adam Driver.
Yeah. So he's an ex-Marine.
Well, technically, the U.S. Marine Corps get very agitated about this. You have to say they don't call themselves ex or former Marines. They're always still a Marine. It's only if you're dishonorably discharged.
Oh, sorry.
Because one of their things is once a Marine, always a Marine.
That's true.
Which is of years I've gone around in my head of whether that's a bit oorah or if it's actually kind of sweet in a way, because it is that it's a tradition that everyone in that organisation sticks to, which is quite touching, to be honest.
It is. It's a brotherhood. It's yeah.
Yeah, but no, you're right. Adam Driver, Marine, moved into acting and has been building a frankly ludicrous filmography since he came to our screens. Because if you look at what he's done outside of Star Wars, and
It's nuts.
yeah, some of it has been questionable, but he's never been questionable himself. He has always put in.
He's been good in bad movies, and he's been great in good movies.
Yeah.
I mean, at the moment, at the time of recording, we've got the latest Ford Coppola film that sort of came and went.
Yeah, I'm annoyed I've missed that because I really did want to see it on the big screen.
Honestly, at the moment, though, films like the amount of clunkers, Borderlands was a drop in the bucket. You mentioned actually the Cavill film.
Yeah.
And that cost 200 million, and its total box office was 97, and it never opened in the cinema in the UK.
I know, that's bonkers to me.
Which is rubbish, because that would have been a genuine interested audience.
Yeah.
Because A, it's Cavill, and B, it's about the bloody British. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, I had to resort to sharing links to
Amazon.
Well, even before it hit Amazon, I had that link. Someone shared me a link to it on YouTube, which I assumed was an official link because I didn't know any better. Because it was a perfect quality version of the film. But yeah, I mean, I've been sharing the fact that it's on Amazon to people wherever I can do.
Yep.
Is it a perfect film? God, no. Is it an entertaining film? Absolutely.
Now, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, I kind of get annoyed, especially when you see how short a time span films are given to breathe nowadays. Because it's like Transformers 1, it was only in cinemas for a week here. It's most my local multiplex, 1 week gone.
That wouldn't surprise me, though. Again, at the time of recording, all the Hollywood press have talked about the box office for the past weekend, because obviously we're breaking fourth wall here. We're recording on, oh my god, is it Tuesday or Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Thank you. I'm in a situation at the moment where I get up, edit, and go to bed. So honestly, I barely leave my block. So it's Wednesday, so you would expect, all the trades have gone on about the weekend's box office. Well, I know for a fact that Transformers 1 took 1.5 mil at the UK box office for last week and last weekend.
Yeah.
None of it has been reported on Box Office Mojo yet.
No.
The chart for the UK has The Good Robot, which opened last week.
Yep.
And then I think it's Alien Romulus and two other films, because they're the only films that have reported figures in.
Romulus can't still be out.
It's on 3 or 4, screens somewhere. It's like they've got Deadpool and Wolverine as well. They are the only studios that somehow managed to report back UK figures. So as small as they are, they're the ones that are like, and there's only 4 films anyway. That's it.
Yeah.
So, and you think about that, and you think, well, if the Hollywood has already reported stuff. So, for instance, Transformers One was 119. It says on Box Office Mojo. Well, that 1.5 million, which by the way has been authenticated in British press.
Yeah.
Well, you add it, suddenly you're looking at 120 million. Obviously, small difference, but that figure, that 2, does help.
Yeah.
And I also think of things like Joker, which needs every single penny it can get from every territory. And if Hollywood are relying on something like Box Office Mojo that can't report the right figures, then there's a bit of a problem. But nobody wants to talk about it.
The crazy thing is that Transformers 1 cost 75 million to make. For Wild Robot cost similar. I think it cost a bit less, to be fair.
Yeah.
Joker 2 cost nearly $200 million.
Yes.
And for contrast there, that Joker 2 has not even broken 100 million from what I saw last time.
Oh, no, it's broken 100 million. I mean, internationally, it did pretty well. But
it's not come anywhere near to its budget, whereas whereas TF1 and the Wild Robot have both gone past their budgets and are still being talking about as massive flops in words that aren't being attributed at all to the Joker.
But this is the weird thing, because this year has been so bad for films in general. I mean, let's go back as well. Borderlands.
Yeah.
They say it cost 120 million, but given the reshoots and the chaos around it, it took 30 million worldwide tops. That's horrific. And people have almost forgotten that happened. Madam Web happened this year. There are also, there's that Halle Berry movie that took like 3 million, and that was it. It's been nuts. The kind of levels of everything has been flopping.
Yeah.
With a lot of studios aiming to make the difference up on streaming.
Which is not a guarantee anymore, unfortunately.
The other robot film. That is still going great guns.
Yeah.
That also that opened in the UK last weekend. It's been on digital in the States for 3 weekends. For 2 weekends now, and it's still going great guns in the American box office. So it is liberally double dipping. And if you think, oh, well, that could not happen. Well, Beetlejuice has been on digital for like 4 weeks now, and is still in the American top 10. It is literally, it's really done badly proportionately internationally, and yet domestically it's done great guns. So you're getting all these kind of like peaks and troughs and what's considered good and wrong.
There's no real rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah, it's very, very weird.
Yeah.
But the thing that still tickles, and it's still true even today, is that Joker has made less in the United States than Transformers 1.
Yeah.
And if TF1 can finish its run, if it just goes down to that handful of cinemas, because a lot of those, like Alien Romulus did, it drops down to 50. Specialized, you have the 1 show a week thing. I think TF1 will do that because it's a good family film, so they'll stick it on a Sunday.
I mean, it hit streaming this week, TF1.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think TF1's an example of massive mismanagement in terms of the advertising, because I mean, you saw an advanced screening, didn't you?
So a couple of things here. I saw an advanced screening, but also I mean, apart from my film background, which doesn't really call into this so much, but it's more that when Bumblebee came out, I took it upon myself to learn a lot more about Box Office Mojo, because I wasn't part of any group that was discussing Bumblebee, but I wanted to learn about it. So learning about Transformers 1. So, for instance, they should have put this out in the summer holidays. That's the biggest mistake That's the biggest mistake they made. It's
Yeah.
funnily enough, it wasn't the promos, it wasn't anything else, because the promos would have been suitable if the film had released in the summer and
Yeah.
if they'd been aiming for a kid audience.
Well,
That's why the promos were the way they were.
the funny thing,
But go on.
I saw someone break it down even better, that the promos, the trailers that emphasized the comedy
Yep.
are actually a really good example of the first act of the film,
Yep.
the bit that kind of draws you in. And honestly, it's actually a really solid first act to any film, to be fair, with a nice spread of genuine humor and character beats mixed in. So,
For a younger audience, especially,
mm,
that would resonate. But
mm,
for the older audience, especially the ones, because they had this problem with Bumblebee,
mm,
is that if you don't pitch it towards have that element of adultness to it,
mm,
then you're going to get a lot of people, especially post-pandemic, who simply aren't going to go to the cinema. They're waiting for it to go onto digital.
yeah.
And that's nobody's fault. That's the way of the world.
No, not at all. I don't judge anyone for that because, like you say, post-pandemic, it's a different world, and it's not easy at best time to get to the cinema. I fully acknowledge that.
Now, taking a leaf out of 40K's history,
Mm,
so, suddenly you had civilization, the Age of Enlightenment, the Dark Age of Enlightenment, the Age of
mm,
Technology, etc., etc. And the reason that humans fell and everything kind of went to crap was because it wasn't one thing that went wrong, it was a series of things.
yeah.
So in the case of 40K, obviously, it was the AI revolt, or what they believe it to be, an AI revolt.
Mm,
And then you had obviously the warp storm cutoff and other things combined. A perfect storm, as they call it.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, TF1's case, you actually had a couple of different elements. You had Beetlejuice, which
Yeah.
is best described as a freak in terms of box office performance. Again, still high up in the charts. It is ridiculous. I
Yeah.
think it will last longer than Barbie, except it's made much less noise internationally. But the
Mm,
biggest thing is, and this is terrible, is that what did they release in cinemas in America literally the week after Transformers 1?
for
Literally
War of
the week.
Robot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's an animated film that has robot in the name.
Mm.
And it's like that's when you just and that
Well,
week as
see,
well,
it's a
the head
DreamWorks animation. That's one
yep.
point in its favor because DreamWorks is generally a pretty good benchmark by this point for quality. It's based on a relatively popular children's book, I believe,
Oh yeah.
released in the States.
Yes.
And like you say, it it has some genuine heart to it. So of course it was gonna, and because it doesn't, ironically, it doesn't have the franchise baggage that Transformers does at this point. Because this is like
No,
what, the eighth or ninth film?
I think so. But the worst thing about it
Mm.
is that in that week, the saving grace of Transformers was the good RT scores, the good audience scores.
Yeah,
The payoff for that never happened because Robot basically sucked up all of that audience, and so it's the very worst combination of events. Though, yeah, compared to other films,
because reviews and word of mouth have been
good.
good to great. I think I've read maybe one bad review, but no one I've seen reporting having been to see it has had a bad word to say about it.
I've had a few people, but they've been sort of cautious. They're like it wasn't great,
Which I get. Yeah.
but nobody's slated it. I mean, it's not had the sort of Bay reaction.
Mm. So
Speaking of which, and look how we tie this back. This film did not have universally good reviews.
yeah.
A lot of people found it very difficult to get into
Mm.
because at the time, like as we said yesterday, there's a lot of people were turning up to this not knowing what to expect.
Yeah.
There were people that didn't think they were into fantasy. By the way, I will reference something on the screen. There is currently Pippin has just kicked over an elf goblin corpse thing, grotesque down a well. There is another character that sees that passing, that is technically in the lore and is technically covered by a computer game.
Oh, is this from the Middle Earth?
We'll get back to it in a second because it's the weirdest. It's weird even for Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
It's really
Yeah.
weird how it all turned out.
I think one of the big things, though, is that nowadays films aren't really given the chance to build that box office. It's all
Yeah.
about the immediate hit. They want it to be a smash right away. That opening weekend, the opening, the preview showings, get a big hit then, and then build off of that. And it's like, well, most films you can't rely on that. You have to give it a chance to find its audience.
I think Lord of the Rings had it lucky because Lord of the Rings and obviously Chamber of Secrets, they shared the box office quite amicably that year. I mean, you had a nice split as well. There was a bit of a, not Barbenheimer, but people would go see the lighter fantasy than the heavier fantasy. But also, Lord of the Rings became a Christmas film.
Yeah.
Which is because it's technically, there's no reason for it to be a Christmas film, but it just became a Christmas film. It was very weird.
Yeah, because they released this one in December.
Yep.
And then it just kind of snowballed with Towers and Return of the King, to the point that Return of the King was a real event.
Oh, that was huge.
Yeah.
I think, would you say then Two Towers felt there was a lot of will they, won't they, will it turn out? There was that, it was almost like Empire, that kind of slight edge of will they be able to pull it off? And then Return of the King kind of felt like the victory lap.
Well, Fellowship is effectively a much smaller movie, ironically, because you are dealing with this core, the Fellowship itself. So you go from Bag End to Arendelle to the Fellowship's journey, and it's a much more classical. Ironically, it feels much more of a classical, what people expect from a fantasy adventure. They're literally in a dungeon right now.
Yeah.
They're under the mountains. They're facing goblins and trolls, and it's very much in that world.
Yeah.
Two Towers was a tricky one because that's where things shift, where you go both far more into the human world with the Rohan, and you also have the wild swerve into the real fantastical with the Ents. And it's getting that balance. And I know that's what people are worried about, because especially the Ents was always going to be an interesting one, because how do you do a walking, talking tree?
Yep.
And I think they really did it the best way they could. But then the Rohan could have so easily been a misstep. But because of how impeccably they cast everything, it was frankly a slam dunk. I mean, Towers is the tricky film because it's a middle act. It's always the middle act. But it's the middle act that needed the most work because, like I said in our last recording, it's the book where everything is so out of sync.
Yeah, the stories and different timelines and different. Yeah, and also two wildly different sets of circumstances. You know, two people battling alone with obviously another character just trying to get to an objective, and then you have these huge kind of huge wars and huge battles going on.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating because I know that the anticipation for Two Towers was there.
Yeah.
But I also remember how people were getting all a bit. There were some really, I don't want to call it stupid, but there were some silly articles about people saying how, because it was in the wake of 9/11, and people were talking about how they'd have to rename it because he couldn't release a film called The Two Towers, which honestly is one of the daftest things I've ever heard in my life.
I don't know. Let's face it, America was hurting, and so some people were just feeling it.
Yeah, I get that.
And also as well, let's face it, like, coming from finance, I know people who were talking to people in those offices on that day at that time. So it's very, yeah.
Yeah, it was just one of those circumstances where you had there were a lot of people who clearly had no knowledge that it was a book, a very old book at this point.
Oh yeah, they only thought it was a film.
And they made some vastly unwarranted assumptions. And like I say, some of them probably they would have had an understandable emotional reason for making that connection, but it was just one of those things where at the time it came across as a little out of left field because it was kind of first time I saw that report I was like, really? Okay.
It's also as well back then as well. I think this was the early days of what we almost take for granted. The internet churns out so much news for news' sake. It's basically slop mail. I think somebody actually referred to it as was it slop casting? It's like when you go on YouTube and some guy's reporting about a story, and he's reporting about a story that was, say, on, I don't know, Fox News, and all he's doing is telling you exactly what was said in the Fox News. He's just repeating it, and he's just doing it to gain that extra click. A lot of that was coming out at the time, and also let's face it, you had a large audience who were suddenly captivated by this, and unfortunately, especially the older people who were getting interested in this, like younger people were more savvy to fandoms and nerd stuff, etc., etc. But older people trying to find their way, they would absolutely get suckered by this. So you had all sorts going on. You mentioned this earlier, actually. So they were struggling. They were struggling to cast this. They struggled to cast this for the period of time. Then they had the whole Stuart Townsend thing, which I think people are most clearly aware of. Even though the one thing I wasn't aware of, actually until very recently, was this wasn't like an amicable thing. I was always told it was very amicable. Like Peter Jackson had gone to him and said, "Look, I don't think it's working out." And the actor, I think, had it been indicated in stories that the actor was like, "Yeah, I don't think it is too," and best of luck for the future and all of that. When actually he was like, no. And in his words, the director wanted me and then apparently thought better of it because he really wanted someone 20 years older than me and completely different.
I think it's one of the things it didn't really twig that they needed someone older until they had him on set in the costume.
Yeah.
Which sucks because Stuart Townsend is by no means a bad actor.
He's had some bad roles.
He has. I really struggle to picture him as Aragorn, though, because, I mean, in the end, I think Jackson and company, they made a right call, because Aragorn is supposed to look older.
Yes.
And honestly, they got lucky that Viggo Mortensen's son was able to convince him to take the role.
But it's weird as well because of that flip, and we spoke about this after the recording yesterday, but because they suddenly had this desperate need to get another actor in, they contacted everyone. Now, if people don't know, when a film is casting, it's almost like it's almost like divisions of football.
Yeah.
And this is where A-list and B-list really does sort of come in. If there's a really hot script, it will get sent out to all the A-list. It doesn't matter if they're working already or they're busy or they got 300 other scripts that week, they'll get it. It's like whoever, and I hate to say this, but it's still the way of Hollywood, whoever the hot young thing of the moment is, which I think it's still Sydney Sweeney. I don't know these things, but she is probably getting every single leading woman role in Hollywood, whether it's intelligent or whether it's pure cupcake.
I mean,
And
I've seen some shots this week. She had to put some official pictures out because some paps had got a shot of her on her new film where she's playing a boxer from I think
okay.
the early 90s.
Hmm.
She's put in the work to get that look because she's jacked.
Okay.
And that Sydney Sweeney is an actress who, up to this point, no one would think of her as being muscular,
Yep.
and she is now. So I don't doubt her commitment to her craft because that's not an easy thing to do.
This is what it saddens me. And it's the same. It was the same with Angelina Jolie. It was the same with Elisha Cuthbert. It was the same with the whole. I mean, you can go back, especially like watching older films. You can see who was Hollywood's flavor of the month. And the challenge for those actresses was they needed good roles, but what they got was mostly drivel. And if they got lucky and found the good roles, great. But they would have to try and balance the good role with the, you know, the cheesy role that would get them the attention. And of course, actresses then started doing the Marvel route seemed to be the way. Scarlett was one of the best at doing that. She alternated really, really good stuff with the Marvel role. But unfortunately, the Marvel roles and comic roles in general have become such a negative that it's been really challenging for and apparently a lot of studios now, like DC and Marvel, are struggling to hire actors of a high quality because a lot of actors are like, no, I'm better off without it.
And it sucks for me to hear that because honestly, things like the Marvels, I thoroughly enjoyed the Marvels.
I really enjoyed that film. Yeah, it was good.
I hear people knock it, and I think, have we watched the same movie?
I think they have they obviously bring a lot with them to the film, and I don't know, maybe that they bring stuff that I've not picked up on, but I couldn't for the life of me see where and look, I started up my Marvel journey was when my mother bought me. Sorry, it's not all my mother, by the way. My father does exist. If you listen to yesterday's show, but she got me because she wanted to wean me off Transformers because she decided by 11 or 12 I was too old for Transformers. Insert joke here. No, she did. She actually managed to cancel the comic for me not long after. She decided to get me something simple instead. She got me the first edition of Marvel's Secret Wars.
Right.
The original 80s Secret Wars that introduced me to damn near every single Marvel character in one book. Also, of course, had the origin of Spidey's symbiote suit, but also Carol Danvers wasn't Captain Marvel.
No.
And Tony Stark in that wasn't Iron Man, it was Rhodey.
Yep.
And so, yeah, if you know, people want to come at me for the Marvels and go, well, she's not a real Marvel. It's like, please.
Yeah.
My first Captain Marvel rocked a wicked afro and was cool as shit. So, yeah. Sorry, anyway, jumping back to sorry, because I keep going off tangent as well. Going back to the alternative casting thing, because this is what I wanted to talk about as well. Because there were two others for Gandalf that were really interesting. The first was Tony Hopkins, and that's very much a Sean Connery thing because Tony Hopkins, I think, all the way through till Ragnarok, and he also did The Last Night for Transformers. Those were kind of the last two roles because you knew, like, Anthony Hopkins is getting too old for this stuff.
Yeah,
he is getting too old for this. You could tell they're easing on the role. The roles he's doing is where he turns up, he's sat, he does his cameo, and that's it. It's great, but at the time he was getting everything. But the one that really fascinated me was Christopher Plummer.
Ooh,
Now, he was a huge fan of the franchise,
yeah.
and he turned it down because he felt the commitment wasn't for him. He said he wanted to visit other countries,
Mm.
and it was always that's the sort of thing where it's like he yes on one way he probably regrets it, but in another way he's done so many other good
I mean,
films, you know.
Christopher Plummer is one of those actors where you have to think that his list of regrets must have been very small
Yes.
because he did some amazing work over his life. Same, I always get him and Max von Sydow in my head a little bit mixed up, mainly because they were both so good at delivering. You always knew what you were getting from both of them. They could deliver, especially later in their careers, they could deliver that same sort of performance,
Mm.
grizzled but also articulate in a way that a lot that is not always easy to do. And honestly, either one of them as Gandalf would have.
Thing is, as well, they would have been equally good. Those two actors you
Mm,
mentioned actually are equally good at playing heroes and villains, which
yes,
is rare.
yeah,
Though, speaking of which, well, just to remind viewers at the moment, if you've watched this trilogy, you kind of know what's going on with Gandalf at the moment, don't you?
mm.
You imagine what he's doing. You imagine where he is. You imagine he's one on one with a Balrog. Well, I'm sorry, but according to one strand of Lord of the Rings lore, he's actually fighting with another fellowship against the Balrog right now.
I never got around to playing the Third Age, but a mate of mine, I saw bits of his playthrough, and each time I saw a bit of it, I was just like, "What the hell is going on here?" They look utterly demented in the best way possible.
So here's the deal. There was a computer game made, and I copied stuff from Wikipedia to read out, and then I
Mm.
tried to read it back to myself. And even the wiki doesn't make sense. It's like
Did it sound a bit insane?
it was yeah. So essentially, you could have. Let me get this right. As it's not an adaptation of the 54 novel, The Lord of the Rings,
Mm.
anything from the novels not mentioned or depicted in the films could not be represented in the game.
Yes.
So it technically is a film game adaptation that doesn't use any of the main characters, creates a brand new fellowship, and the fellowship are in the shadows of this fellowship. And so, for instance, the flock of crows, you battle those. And at one point,
Yeah.
you're trying to reach Boromir, and you don't. And you're in the mines of Moria, and you see that goblin corpse fall past you. There's something in the third movie which I think is the funniest thing ever. I'm going to send a link to it to you because you'll love it. But yeah, so they're literally on a lower level in the mines of Moria, and
Mm.
so they get to battle with Gandalf, the Balrog. And Gandalf constantly gives them like it's almost like emails or just remote texting. He gives them updates throughout the game. And this is voiced by Ian McKellen, by the way. All the while he's meant to be either being like battling or dead or being resurrected or Gandalf the White. But in this game it makes no difference. It is the weirdest thing I've ever heard. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's always been quite game, McKellen, to come back and do Gandalf
Oh
because
yes.
I think he's done voice work for almost every Lord of the Rings game that ties into the films. If it has Gandalf in it, he's normally been there to do the voiceover.
Do you think it's done because he just feels so comfy with it?
I think there's a bit of that, and also I have no doubt that the studios are probably going, "Well, who do we got? Well, Gandalf's the character who actually makes sense to talk to people in their heads. Righto, can we see if Mr. McKellen would like some more money, please?" And you can't really fault that.
Well, there's a point where you just think, oh, I think I've got enough money. I'm all right. But yeah, in terms of other casting as well, let's put this one to bed because there was the
Hmm.
three that there was one that we talked about yesterday, but there were two others. So in terms of Aragorn, obviously they had a scramble. They asked everybody,
Yeah,
everybody.
and it was a
But
shame because they were filming.
yes, they had to get this done. There was a huge issue.
Mm.
But the most interesting ones, firstly, Nicolas Cage, which is, I mean, it's really easy to laugh about Nicolas Cage,
Mm.
but then you consider as well, like in the last couple of years, that guy has just been putting out quality film after
Yeah,
quality
I mean,
film. It's just he doesn't give, if you don't mind me using a bit of crude language, he does not give a shit about trying to prove himself to anyone. You know, he even
oh
got
no,
himself
not at
out of
all.
his financial troubles a couple of years ago, and he's just enjoying life.
Oh yeah, I mean that's why he was making all those terrible movies for such a stretch to pay his bills.
Yeah.
Mainly because he had such a good 90s, really. Because it did
Yes.
so well for him. And it's like, I have all this money, and he went a bit mad. But I mean, that period is where he was putting in some really excellent work as well in the 90s. Because this would have been cast, they would have been cast doing the initial casting search in the wake of, I think, The Rock, certainly. I don't think Con Air had come out at this point. I think Con Air probably came out during filming of Rings, if I remember.
So The Rock was the sea change because he'd won
Mm.
an Oscar for
Yeah,
uh, the Las Vegas film, wasn't it?
Leaving Las Vegas, yeah.
Yeah. And he was the first actor to really cash in artistic merit and then just go full action, which
Mm.
loads of people have done ever since. I mean,
Yeah.
loads of people.
And the thing is, in fairness, his action move, I mean, The Rock is genuinely one of the finest action movies put to film. It's Bay before he went too far off the rails. Con Air is just such an ensemble piece. Every time I watch that film, I have to double take because of the people I see in it, because it's just mad. And Cage has the most outrageous accent.
Do you think as well that technically that could fall under a 40K adjacent film because I think that was basically created by Slanesh as Friday night entertainment for the masses.
Con Air, yeah,
Yeah.
I could picture that. Yeah.
Honestly,
Mm.
Sorcerer's Apprentice
Yeah,
for Disney. I
I have a
really
soft
like that
spot for
film.
that film. Yeah.
I love that film. I
Mm.
think he's brilliant in it. But yeah, so also, of course, Russell Crowe got the script for this to play
Mm.
Aragorn. He had a chat with Peter Jackson, but he was under the distinct impression that Jackson had been forced at gunpoint to speak to him. So
Mm.
he wasn't. He just thought, no, this is politics. The weirdest one is that several requests were sent to Daniel Day-Lewis,
Oh, that's interesting.
and of course the guy was not. He would never do it,
No,
but it was really
he
interesting.
was in his boot making period, I believe.
Yeah. In terms of other people, you had Sylvester McCoy was up for Bilbo, but Ian Holm had already played the role in the BBC radio adaptation.
Well,
So,
he'd played Frodo as
oh,
well.
sorry, Frodo. Yeah, so that
Yeah,
was it. He played Frodo,
yeah.
so he kind of had. So, but Sylvester was
Mm.
really like cool about it,
Mm.
and it's proof as well that sometimes being that cool, amenable, like well done,
Yeah,
supportive, and of course he then got to be Radagast, which
yeah.
I always got a chuckle out of that because the Doctor who was arguably one of the most maligned,
Mm.
then ended up in a Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
project. It was great. And then the final two were Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman to play Galadriel and Faramir.
Ooh, no, that's an interesting pairing.
Now, this wasn't even they were in the mix.
Mm.
Like Uma Thurman was offered it. She turned it down because she'd only just become a parent and she just couldn't do it. And her husband, although it would have been perfect for him, for both of
Mm.
them to be there, it was like, well, if she said no, then I can't say no. So
I mean that's more than reasonable when he.
yeah.
That's actually very commendable, to be fair.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And honestly, I the alternate world where they were in it is a fascinating idea because I mean Uma Thurman and Kate Blanchett, they're not. I don't say they're dissimilar in terms of their beauty, but they both have a different quality to them.
Yes,
I think Blanchett probably was the better choice for Galadriel, but I'd have loved to have seen Furman's approach.
absolutely.
And likewise, even David Wenham, I think, is a great Faramir, not just because he actually looks like Sean Bean to a certain extent, and to John Noble, but because he brings a certain humility to the role that's really hard to get.
Yes.
Faramir and Hawke, he's a tremendous actor, but at that point in his career, I don't think he could have done Faramir. Another decade later, I think he could have done, but at that point in his career, I don't think he was really a good fit for Faramir. But it would have been interesting to see what he could have done.
He's one of those
So
actors that I think deserves a big film at some point, a big blockbuster. Like
he's
something
you look at his
hefty that.
filmography though, and he's been in some corkers over the years.
Oh yeah, he has. It's just I think, it's that big grandstand. I mean, the thing is they don't even make that many big grandstand films anymore.
Mm.
But hang on, doesn't I'm thinking, let me just think. Ethan Hawke's in Moon Knight, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, you see, yeah, even there, it's like that was a good role. That was a good series. I really like that. But it wasn't the big extravaganza. It wasn't like the movie with the big sequel that everyone's
Mm.
excited for. You know.
Yeah, it's one of those. That's one of those series where if you know, you know. But
Yeah.
it's always got that. It's always felt a much more arty series of movies, which they are, to be honest. But they they did find a very solid audience, just not like you say that sort of breakout audience that would have given both the stars, him and Judy Delpy, that extra lift to the next level. Not that I
Yeah.
think they really needed it because they've both had, frankly, brilliant careers.
I think people talk a lot about Sean Bean when they talk about Fellowship
Mm,
because I think he pours a large measure of his soul out for this
mm,
character. I think it's one of the best performances. To know how
mm,
down to earth he is as well, like he has his accent and his roots, and he's still there. The weirdest thing as well, we were talking about like impact that it had on stars,
yeah.
and well, for a start, it's weird watching this film and seeing Kate Blanchett because it's like Kate Blanchett must have been younger at that time
Mm.
because time, relativity, and physics. But she's kind of just always looked the same age.
Yeah.
So she maybe looked older than she was
Mm.
then. And nowadays, I don't know, she has this very ethereal quality to her.
I think she may have turned 30 during the filming of this. I know that
Wow.
Orlando Bloom certainly did because they all went bungee jumping, which I imagine put Jackson at ease no end to hear
Yes, well,
to know that his stars had all gone bungee jumping.
bless.
Uh, I mean, they did cast well at the end of the day, and I do find it fascinating, especially with Aragorn, because Viggo's first day was Weathertop, the sequence
Yes.
versus the Ringwraiths. He had never held a sword before he played Aragorn, and yet we have a bit of trivia. Like he broke his toe in Two Towers, and they used that shot as the scene in the film. Later on in this film, a knife gets thrown at him, and he literally bats it away. That's a real thing he did because it wasn't supposed to go straight at him.
Yeah.
Um, but is it? I mean, Bob Anderson, the legendary swordmaster of Hollywood, was the weapons trainer for this film. This is a guy who he had been the stunt double for Darth Vader. He had trained pretty much every swordsman of the golden age of Hollywood from Errol Flynn onwards. And I'm not sure how apocryphal it is not, but by all accounts, he considered Viggo one of his finest students, certainly one of the most naturally gifted performers with a sword,
I know
which is
I know
high praise.
there's a bit of I've seen this quite a lot. There is a bit of it's almost like an obligation from the I think they call them sword master. I
Yeah,
think by this point as well, with his age, he was supervising, but he wasn't really doing a lot of the training. He would do bits, especially if there was a camera
yeah,
around, but you're really at that point you're using the guy for his knowledge. You're not asking him to go 20 rounds with Vigo every day in a gym.
that's fair.
But I do get the feeling that because Vigo just had this mentality of he keeps the sword on him. He keeps his famously he had incidents and run-ins
Got
with the
arrested.
police. Yeah, there were things, but he just kept the sword because that was the way he trained. But the idea that he comes onto a set and he's like, right, what do we do with Weathertop? And they made it so simple, and they used some. It's almost like 1980s video effects with the kind of streaking, and you just get away with it. And then the rest of it was him. It's like Hugh Jackman. We're going all over the place this time. I like it. Hugh Jackman, last minute, people forget, last minute cast replacement for Wolverine. He wasn't meant to be Wolverine. Wolverine was going to be Dougray Scott. Dougray Scott was doing Mission Impossible 2, which was a really crappy film. It was overrunning. He couldn't jump on, so they got Jackman. And Jackman was just in regular condition.
Yeah.
So day one, he's like, right, well, you're going to be wearing a lot of layers. And then they just worked and worked and worked and worked and worked. And the small amount of pump that he got was literally the last thing that they shot in the film when he wakes up. And it's so well, like you can tell they managed to get him to look vaguely muscular. And then he gets up, there's this slight glamour shot, and then he puts a sweatshirt on.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny you said it, because I've seen a lot of stuff. There's been a lot of stuff over recent years posted, because I think we went over it yesterday about how that superhero physique is. Actually, no, tell me. We went over it in the Predator video, myself, Snipe, and Gruff, and how that superhero physique, that lean cut look, is not attainable. That literally, that's
Well, it's
maybe
not.
a day or two someone can maintain because they're so dehydrated. And then you look at how Jackman looked in that sequence in X-Men, where he looks fantastic. You look at Harrison Ford when he's bare shirt in the Indiana Jones movies,
Yeah.
and he looks in great shape. And he was in his 40s at that point, and he looks better than a lot of actors younger than him
I
would
think
have
it's
done.
because they put on so much mass, so it becomes harder to deal with it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Hollywood, the way it is, it's like when Jason Momoa got called out for having a dad bod. And
I saw that and I was like,
hang on a second,
I want his dad bod.
men would kill for that body.
Yeah.
But there's also a healthy element of, well, guess what, men? We hold women in media to an unreal standard. I mean, honestly, models at fashion shows are something that's a horrific sight to behold most of the time because you know how underweight they are. So, unfortunately, the male body has now gone under the same level of microscope. Sorry, the same level of focus. Let's just say, and so you end up with Hemsworth looking like a semi-pro bodybuilder. And anyone will say that, I'm sorry, doing a bunch of squats or like really stupid, over the top, needlessly complicated exercises doesn't get you that body, unfortunately. And it doesn't matter how many chicken breasts you eat, you unfortunately need to go for something a little bit more oomphy. And you mentioned Alan Richardson. Alan Richardson, admittedly, he mentioned it because of an issue he has. but he is the first person that has admitted to taking testosterone.
Mm.
But he said it's because of a medical condition. Now, even if it is or it isn't, like, nobody cares anywhere in Hollywood. I'm sorry. Nobody cares, because if you weren't allowed to take dodgy candies, then half the superhero physiques in Hollywood wouldn't exist. But
Yeah.
it's kind of nice that somebody has at least put something forward to say, yeah, this is a bit unrealistic, and this is how I get to this size. That said, though, he is a guy as well who has been working out for like 20 years, 30 years.
Yeah.
And that does make all the difference. That makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
But
The best Brad advert in the world.
we should probably talk about Luckiest Man Alive, Orlando Bloom.
Yeah. He's a jammy sod, isn't he?
He is. So he gets this role as his first role outside of drama school. He doesn't make much for it. I think he went on like the Howard Stern or something like that. He said he earned 120,000 for the 3 films.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. I mean, they must have
I mean,
likeness rights or something.
I know that the cast all had approval for toys, because famously Games Workshop had to get approval from every actor they did a miniature of their respective miniature.
That's I would have loved to have seen it. It's like hearing that one of the if you ever, sorry, again, great tangents this time around. I might frame some of these. Do you know, you probably know this, but if in the United Kingdom, if you are going to release a set of stamps, i.e. the Royal Mail is going to release a set of stamps, they have to be personally viewed and signed off visually, and then signature in person by the Queen or the King.
Yeah.
This means that Queen Elizabeth, in her final years, signed off and approved a set of Transformer stamps.
I love that. That's brilliant.
Just,
I mean, when you think about
beautiful.
how many, think of all those sort of tie-in stamp sets we've had over especially the last decade in this country. That's a lot of stamp sets that she signed off on over the years. I love that. That's brilliant.
So anyway, back to Luckiest Man Alive, Orlando Bloom. So he then goes from this and he makes a bunch of movies. Some are good, some are interesting. Yeah, a few. I think it was the Ridley Scott one about the Crusades.
He did Kingdom of Heaven.
Yeah,
and
Black Hawk Down.
Black Hawk Down. I'm not sure if that came before or after this, to be fair.
Okay.
Because Black Hawk Down shooting, I think it may have come after, to be fair.
Okay.
And he also did a film with Heath Ledger on Ned Kelly and his gang.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if Kingdom was before or after Pirates. I think it was before.
Of course, because he went from this huge trilogy, and then just landed another trilogy. And yeah, he made all his money on Pirates. I mean, all of them were making silly money by the third one. So
yeah.
And I think they're probably dragging back for the next 30 or 40 sequels. And then he was going out, or he had a kid with a supermodel. And then they split up. And then he got together with Katy Perry. And it's like, yeah, Orlando, you've had a pretty good life.
Yeah. And he's, honestly, some of his more recent, well, I say more recent, right from Three Musketeers, where he played the Duke of Buckingham in wonderfully sneering fashion. He seems to have been picking roles, but just let him have a bit more fun.
Yeah.
Because he did get quite a few roles that were a bit more po-faced. Try to get him into that action man sort of position. And he's kind of leaned into the fact that, oh no, I can play a git really well.
Yeah.
And also his age.
He needs to be a bad guy more often.
He does do a bad guy really well. Like I say, I have a soft spot for that Three Musketeers, mainly because its cast is frankly stupid. I mean, you have Bloom as
Is that the one with John Malkovich?
No, that's the Man in the Iron Mask.
Oh, right, okay.
That one's Malkovich, Jared Depardieu, Jeremy Irons, and Gabriel Byrne with.
Oh my God, this
with
so
Leonardo
good.
DiCaprio.
Oh.
Yeah, this one is Bloom, Milla Jovovich as Milady, Ray Stevenson, Luke Evans, and I keep forgetting his name. He was the lead in the first few seasons of Spooks. Andrew McFadden.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yep, they were the Musketeers. You had Juno Templars, the Queen of France. You had who was Richelieu? Richelieu was damn it! I keep forgetting his name as well. He was in Django Unchained and Tarantino.
Yeah, I know the one.
Christoph Waltz.
Yes,
Christopher Waltz. And if I remember rightly, Rochefort was Mads Mikkelsen.
Oh my God! Do you think, honestly, we talk about Lord of the Rings, and I'm sure, especially when we get into the third film as well, we'll do our. That would be a challenge. Actually, we'll put it on the site as well. We'll ask people before we do the third film if they were remaking it now, and forget any discussion regarding Amazon here. Say they just wanted to do another Lord of the Rings, and they were planning it now to film in 2 years to release in 5. Who would you cast, updated cast? And you would get a lot of people, but they'd need to get people who are good character actors and could work as part of an ensemble. But then you talk about Musketeers films, and Musketeer films, for some reason, you can just get the best actors because people just want to go and play that. They want to do that role.
Yeah,
like if you're Porthos, there's one attraction. If you're Athos, there's another attraction. If you're Aramis, literally there will be actors who desperately want to play each individual. Like they don't want to play the other Musketeers; they want to play that Musketeer.
Yeah,
it's great.
I mean, tell an actor, would you like to play Cardinal Richelieu? I mean, you look at the actors who've played him over the years. Charlton Heston, Tim Curry, Peter Capaldi in the BBC Musketeers show in the early 2000s, which I think is an underrated show, to be fair. That's got all the charm to it. Christoph Waltz in the Paul Anderson version we were just talking about. I mean, I have a real soft spot for swashbucklers and Musketeer films in general, because I still need to watch them, but I have the 2 French Musketeer films they released last year, D'Artagnan and Milady, to watch, because I hear such good things about them. And Eva Green as Milady. That's just perfect casting, to be honest. But it's like Robin Hood. I think every generation should have their version of the Hood, Musketeer, all those legendary stories. And Rings kind of fits into that. It's taken a while for them to get the adaptation right, but now it's been done. You have a book, a template, not so much to copy, but other people can look at and say, well, they did this. What can we do that would set it apart? And that would be interesting.
For those that's interested in the film, because I know we're not really referencing it, but right now Aragorn is saying to Merry and Pippin, "Look, hobbits, here are the DVD extra statues that you can get if you buy the special edition box set."
I mean, I have both of those.
I don't. I have the other 2 box sets. I don't have this one. I'm still tempted. It's one of those things.
Mm,
It's like a holy grail, but at
yeah.
least 15 divisions below the ring wraith and steed.
I mean, it was a nice set. There's a funny thing with how they packaged those extended editions. Because I don't know if have you ever noticed that if you bought the extended 4-disc outside of the collector's box, the actual packaging wasn't as nice
Yep.
as how it came in the collector's box,
Yep.
because it was basically just thin card for the faux book look, whereas for one of the collector's boxes, it was still cardboard, but it was more layered, more rounded. It felt more like a mimicry of a book. And one of the things I liked about when they did the Hobbit movies, although they didn't do the boxed versions like they did for the Rings movies, the individual extended cuts, the packaging was the same quality as those special boxed editions of the extended Rings movies. So they all match, which I as someone who's a tad obsessive about how things look on my shelf, I appreciated that.
Mm.
So, uh,
I remember as well. This was quite it was quite pessimistic. This part of the film.
mm,
I think that's the beauty as well of Fellowship is that because you lose Gandalf quite
mm,
early, you lose the safety net, and
yeah.
you think, well, if they can get rid of him, they can get rid of anyone.
Well, it's not. I mean, they've made some choices here because, for one thing, they've not given Aragorn Anduril yet. They
Yep.
Because in the book he gets it at the council. He and Boromir go off and have the sword reforged. So Boromir actually is sworn to Aragorn from the time they joined the Fellowship. His arc is much. His death is not related to, as it is here, his guilt over trying to take the ring of Frodo. He doesn't try that in the book. In the book, in the book he says he did, but we never see it. And honestly, Boromir, I think, has always been a bit of an unreliable narrator in that regard. But there's not as much of the conflict as the film generates between the two, between Aragorn and Boromir, which I think the film it strengthens both characters because Aragorn is still very much he doubts men. He doesn't have because he's still very much in, not so much because he's raised by elves, but because he's always been apart, given his extended lifespan as well.
Mm.
He struggled to accept his destiny, and it was a smart choice to make that his through line because
Yeah.
otherwise there's no real journey for him. In the book, Aragorn's journey is much more straightforward, and Boromir suffers for that. Whereas this way, especially with two actors like Viggo and Sean, and well, the rest of the Fellowship to play off for that matter, it just feels so much more real.
Yeah.
Because the thing about Boromir is, in this moment, he's not saying anything wrong here. Everything he's saying is actually accurate. He truly believes that the ring is needed to defend his people. What was it? I was reading a fascinating deep dive I found online yesterday into Boromir because someone had kind of said "f that guy," and someone had retorted in lengthy fashion. And it's a good point. I mean, Boromir, he loses his mother at 10, leaving him and his younger brother, who he adores, at the mercies of their father, who's really has been insane for a long time. He's been mad for a long old time as Denethor. He's grown up. Most likely, he's seen every friend he's ever made die defending Gondor.
Yep.
He's had to become this symbol of this realm,
But
the
he
rallying
doesn't
point.
like himself.
No, And he doesn't like how his brother, who he sees Faramir's value, he sees his courage and his skill at arms.
Yeah.
He sees, but he sees how his father demeans him, belittles him, and pushes him away, and he hates that. And then his father sends him on this journey that he really does not feel equipped for. He doesn't want to leave. He feels his place is with his people as their bulwark. And then in this moment, he can't handle it anymore, and he gives in to temptation. And that moment where he face plants, I've seen a lot of people take that as Boromir still being obsessed with the ring.
No, I think he wakes up.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the. To me, it's quite telling that that's what snaps him out of it, and he's immediately overcome with remorse. There's no. He's not trying to hide from his mistake. He knows he messed up, and
Yeah.
but there's nothing he knows there's nothing he can do. He knows that he's because again he's seen what Veering's doing to Frodo, and he knows what he's done. So
There is a Grey Knight, I believe. I think he's better well known now because Brookie talked about him. But there's a Grey Knight who has a demon sword.
yes, Castellan Crow.
That's it. And it tempts everybody near him. So he has to keep it on him. He has to resist its charms. But at the same time, it's worth him keeping it because of the benefits it has to him. And it's very much like a one ring to him, except it can be used more offensively, which is great.
Well, the irony about Crow and that sword is that he's not actually using any of the power of the sword or the demon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the thing about Crow and the Black Blade. Because that sword has actually, the demon inside it has caused whole sectors of the galaxy to burn just by being not even being let loose from the sword, just from the sword being left to its own devices.
Okay.
People picking it up and the demon corrupting its wielders. Prior to Crow, because he wasn't the first Grey Knight to carry the sword.
Yeah,
The role of Castellan is one that's been a part of the Grey Knights for certainly centuries at least, for this point, since they captured the sword. But prior to Crow, every bearer they'd carried the sword with them chained to their backpack or on their person. They'd never used it. Crow was the first to take it up and just use it as a sword. He literally is just battering people to death with. It's not even a powered blade or anything like that, or a psychic sword. He's literally just using it to chop people up. And the demon hates it because it's continually trying to tempt him to use its powers to make use of its abilities. And he won't. He's just using it to face. The fact that he's using it to fight mostly the servants of chaos drives the demon batty, frankly. But it's one of those interesting little nods with that, and it's not the only time that GW riffs on how the One Ring influences people and corrupts things. And I'd like everyone to know I've said all that whilst watching arguably one of my favourite action sequences of all time. So you should be very proud of me for this, because I could have been absolutely silent whilst I just admired all the swordplay.
Well, yeah, because let's face it as well. We talked about Vigo and having to learn the art of the sword whilst shooting. Of course, and Sean Bean's like, with his years in Sharp and other things, he's like, hold my beer. He's just like, yeah, I can do this. But in terms of a last stand, arguably one of the best ever. Because you kind of know, even if you've not read
book, and well, I'd say the books, because technically Boromir is in. He kind of plays out his final thing at the end of the the beginning of the Two Towers, but it's very much, it's like, this is how you do it. This is how you play a character off. And obviously we said last time that Sean Bean already had this penchant for his characters didn't last very long. I don't know if this was just like Hollywood and their joke, or the convenience of casting, typecasting. We want somebody who will be good but won't stick around too long, or will be unfortunate. But yeah, this was like, this is the best. This is, if you go for Sean Bean death scenes, it doesn't get better than this.
This is probably the most heroic death scene.
Yeah.
And it's arguably the death scene that any actor would give their right teeth for, because it's, like you say, it's a wonderfully put together sequence. It's even the extended version we've just seen, which adds quite a bit more to what's going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of little. There's that little extra minute as well of like dialogue can mean so much.
Merry and Pippin actually getting to do something with their little knives, and I love the shock at this point, because even if it's sort of film, it's a real shock to see one of your heroes take a hit like that.
Yeah,
and it's not a clean arrow either. It's not like one of those films where you can think, oh, it'll be fine, it'll just push it through and it'll be fine. It's like, no, that's a big old arrow that's dirty as hell. That's not going to be nice.
I mean, I think they do such a good job in it. Doesn't become, it's not parody. Like, you believe that the guy, through sheer force of will, could probably, like, he is not good. He knows that's it.
Yeah.
So he's just, at this point, he's just kind of hitting them with the sword. He's not really, or he's falling on to stab that guy. But it's like, yeah, he's done. And it's just, the guy's now just being sadistic, and also this is this is basically a villain that they made up for the film.
Yeah, they wanted
really
the film
simple.
to have, they felt the film needed to have a villain with a face of some sort. So they created Lurtz as this Uruk-hai captain, just so they could have someone for Boromir and Aragorn to actually face off against in the finale. And it was a smart choice, because it would have been easy just to make the Horde a Horde, but to have Lurtz as that presence. Yeah. And I mean, he only has like 2 lines of dialogue with Saruman. That's it. Everything else is just really this sequence. And it's, I mean, all props to Salah Baker under the makeup here.
Yeah.
I mean, he had so many roles in these films, but Lurtz is kind of the standout just because he's the bad guy for this whole sequence of the first film.
The swagger.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, I do have a soft spot for this little one-on-one as well, because not just because the knife flinging incident, which I still get a chuckle out every time I see it, because Viggo is just made like that. He can knock a knife out of the air flying at him.
I didn't realize that was unplanned. Actually, there you go. There is a chink in my Wikipedia and DVD armor.
But they don't make Lurtz unbeatable. He's just he's a goon at the end of the day. So
yeah. And the thing is as well that in the books, my God, this is probably the first time I've said in the books when talking about the Fellowship of the Ring. But the whole deal is that they find Boromir on basically a pile of bodies.
Yeah.
He's taken a whole bunch with him. And I absolutely adore, and I think this is taken from the book, but that he takes Boromir's, like part of Boromir's costume. He takes his. I want to say it's not greaves, is it? What are they? Braces. That's it.
Yeah.
God, playing Baldur's Gate for like 20 years and I forget the name of it. How cruel is that?
Greaves go on the legs.
That's it. Yeah, braces, because half my time in Baldur's Gate was spent trying to find good braces. But it's crazy how Boromir is used in many ways here, but he's also, through his costume donation of sorts, it's one of the things that transforms Strider into the king.
Yeah.
Because he puts on these royal raiments.
The braces have the symbol of Gondor on them, so he's marking himself as a man of Gondor. Which, even at this stage, although he had served, he'd spent time in the army of Gondor as when he was younger, but he'd never declared himself.
Yeah.
This is kind of, I mean, it's the fact that Boromir is the first one to acknowledge him as king as well, and take him.
He takes it on board as well.
Yeah. I choke up whenever I watch this scene because it's just...
I can't, because I remember Sean Bean saying we shot one angle before lunch, then I went off and ate my potatoes, yum yum yum, and then we came back and did the other angle.
Yeah. No, it's a wonderful arc.
If you'd, I can see why he came back and did some reshoots, and I don't think it's because of the story. I think Sean Bean phoned them up and said, "I miss the guys. I miss these guys," because from all accounts, they all got on well. They all got on like a house on fire. John Rhys-Davies had a bit of a different journey because he was in makeup. Funnily enough,
he suffered, bless him.
Funnily enough, though, it's only literally just now that I realised this. But he suffered within the team as Ian McKellen suffered in the next trilogy, in The Hobbits. Because whereas Gandalf suffered because he had so many hobbits around him and dwarves that he had to be green screened and be separate. And John Rhys-Davies had the problem that because he was smaller but an odd proportion, so he was kind of there and kind of not, and he had the heavy makeup, that he was sort of suffering in the midst of this team, the rest of whom were having a ball.
Yeah, because I mean, most of the scenes that are they don't require close-ups of Gimli, it's Brett, John's stunt double, who is in the next film where you have Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli running. That's pretty much all Brett, the stunt double.
Destroying what was left of his knees at the time.
Yeah. Viggo with his broken foot, Orlando with his broken ribs, Brett with his broken knees. Bless them all. But
it's weird as well that he was the guy who ended up getting the fellowship tattoo.
I mean, you can understand it because Rhys-Davies didn't spend as much time with them as Brett would have done, so I can kind of get that. It's kind of interesting as well because Rhys-Davies, he's actually perfectly scaled to play a dwarf next to the hobbits, which part of works so well to sell them when you have that combination together. And it's kind of what works in The Hobbit as well, where you have Martin Freeman next to all these quite tall actors playing dwarves.
Yep.
It sells the illusion. But it's just one of those little quirks of how they had to do it. That most of John Rhys-Davies' stuff, it's only ever kind of an extreme close-up, really. Or when he's on his own. You can't really... It's very hard to get that without it looking a bit off, shall we say. So, I mean, they did do some pioneering work in this film with using the way they used the size doubles. It's kind of impressive when you watch this, and stuff like how in Return when Denethor throws Pippin out of the tombs, the catacombs. That's actually the stunt double first, and then she rolls into Billy Boyd, who sits up as in front of the camera as Pippin. It's kind of a neat trick, to be fair. It's a simple trick, but it's cute, and it's like how they had a lot masks made for a lot of them for when they're on horseback with the human riders. They still have the features of the actual actors.
Oh wow! Yeah, I think I saw something about that actually.
Yeah. Some of the masks are a little creepy, but it's one of those touches that it helps sell that illusion wonderfully.
It was weird. I'm just having a quick look here actually for something. So 2021, Brett actually broke his silence on just how much of the acting he'd done for Gimli, and he'd done a lot of it.
Yeah,
an awful lot, like more than other people, and because of the amount of time he'd spent with them, and because John Rhys Davies just said, look, if there's action or blood or anything, I just send the stunt double. So and fair play, he was an older actor. He clearly wasn't in the sort of shape that should have been running around with all of this like prosthetics and costume, and it's a nightmare. But at the same time, it's like Brett was the reason he got the tattoo is because he spent the time with the cast. So the cast have constantly tried to invite him to the post-film events, but he's always been very awkward about the fact that, well, he kind of took a lot of the. He kind of should share an acting credit basically with John Rhys Davies, and I get the feeling I wouldn't be surprised 10, 15 years down the line, especially when John Rhys is not around anymore, and this film celebrates, I don't know, his 20th or 30th anniversary, they will give him an acting credit. It will be one of those special features where they tweak it, and it's like, yeah, he deserves it.
It'd be nice. Because, I mean, they've gotten a lot better over recent years with doing that in films. But it's like, do you remember the first Hellboy?
Yes.
David Hyde Pierce famously voiced Abe Sapien in that film over Doug Jones's physical performance. But Hyde Pierce was very insistent that he not be credited as the voice of Abe Sapien, because as far as he was concerned, Doug Jones had done all the work. He didn't understand why they didn't use Doug's voice anyway. Which is why in Hellboy,
no idea. Wow.
Which is why in Hellboy 2, Doug voices Abe himself.
Brilliant.
And I mean, I've always had a lot of time for David Hyde Pierce, but it's one of those. It's a nice touch when you do that, but you do see it a lot more or I've seen it a bit more where they do try and credit everyone more correctly.
Yeah.
Nowadays, to get that balance right, but I can kind of understand why it was. For one thing, it'd have been a tricky one to try and explain to audiences.
Yeah, I think. Let's face it. The whole situation only started to come up anyway with the special editions because you saw so much behind the scenes that you suddenly started to realize, oh wow, this guy is everywhere, and you'd get the interviews, you'd hear stuff. But the thing that really brought it home to me actually was the last day of filming for actors. Because you had last day for almost every other actor, and there was this huge kind of like hooray. And the last day for John Rhys Davies, it was like Peter Jackson and 2 or 3 other people, and some minor polite applause. And his leaving thing was he threw his prosthetics into a fire, and it's like, that's good. But again, on the flip side, he was having a skin allergy, he didn't like the makeup. What gets me, though, is why they didn't pick someone else. Because the actor was quite, let's face it, it's quite a broad role. Yeah. So I'm surprised that they didn't pick anyone else. Yeah, in fact, I'm just going to check and see if there was alternate casting. I'm pretty sure there was.
It's an interesting point that you raised, to be fair. I hadn't really thought of that.
Because you've got that much over them. All you're looking for really is a voice. And not being rude here, but wasn't Bill Bailey down to do? I'm sure Bill Bailey was in the running.
I think they said he was in talks to possibly play someone in Hobbiton.
Oh, okay.
But he wasn't really in talks for anything major.
Oh no, he did audition, but he was just unsuccessful.
Okay.
But they don't say why. I wonder if it's because he got out a xylophone and started playing.
Yeah. I suspect there were not many actors in the UK around that time who probably didn't get an audition of some sort just to get into running.
Yeah, this makes me feel sorry as well because Gimli's experience, however good or bad, whatever and let's face it, these are minor niggles. If we ever get round to doing The Hobbit, which would be a bit of a challenge, I'll admit, I don't think are there special editions for those films?
Yep, they have extended cuts of all three.
Oh my god!
I own all three, so I can do that if you ever want to.
But the whole story of how a lot of the dwarves fared on those films is far more interesting. Just because there were genuine issues, and I think Lindsay Ellis covered it a couple of years ago, and basically it all blew up. Like you suddenly realized what was going on and stuff, and it was one of those stories where a lot of the actors that were hired to play dwarves thought this is great, it's going to be Fellowship Mark II, and there was a very clear difference between some actors and other actors. It was this all actors are equal, but some actors are more equal than others. It's one of those situations. So, but that's something that we can go into another time.
Yeah.
Now, a final thing on this is: did this have the One Ring members added to it? Because I know that I think the other two films do. But if you were a member of like the fan club or the One Ring, you got a credit at the end, and these credits go on for about 10 minutes.
They do,
and I know I'm on the Return of the King.
Okay, I generally don't know on that score. I didn't realize that was a thing, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's the OneRing.net. It was really weird.
I mean, I've used OneRing.net in the past quite a bit, and I still get newsletters through from the website. I never signed up to be a member, though. Funnily enough.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about it is because there's so many thousands of members that there is a good chance that your name is on there anyway.
And I just didn't realize.
And it's just another person with your name, so you can just say, "Oh, that's me."
No one has the same name. No one has the same name as me.
Really?
I've checked. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Trust me. my particular arrangement of my name is most singular.
Okay.
For better or worse.
You realize it's going to be really shocking one day when you actually come, well, not face to face, because it would normally be via the internet, but you just become aware of another Adam White. Oh, sorry. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I did have the first time I heard someone referred to as David.
I do know another David.
I was like, yes, no, not you. Yeah. But the spelling is it's the Old Welsh. So most modern spellings of David are Dafyd.
Yep.
Whereas mine is Dawfyd.
Ah.
And even when I was living in Wales for university, the number of odd looks I'd get from Welsh people when I showed them that, they'd go, "Sorry, how is that spelled again?"
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, just for my little slip there when I said my own name, I'll explain why. Because you mentioned earlier how difficult it was to talk through the fight scene, whereas I'm struggling with the credits because a lot of stuff really sparks off in my head. I know a lot, like AFM. I've worked for AFM. AFM doesn't exist anymore. I worked for them. I actually got some really good jobs through them. And the moment I look at that, it was just in the back of my head. It was like, oh yeah, they're alike. Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
The charter members of the Lord of the Rings official fan club. Boom, see? And this will go on for a while. I mean, how long have we got left in the... so it's... there we go.
There's
20 minutes.
20 minutes of credits left.
So look out for your name. We might be there. You never know. But no. So when I looked at that, I instantly thought back to the issues I have with IMDb because there are a bunch of Adam Whites, and there's always this issue with Adam White's being credited which Adam White, which is why I said Adam White. So it's become a long running thing. And even as like yesterday, when I was doing something, I got a notification that somebody was trying to credit me for a film that had just been shot. And I was like, no, I had to reach out to them and go, please credit the right person. I haven't done anything in terms of an official credit for 2 years. And even that I don't think will ever be released. So yeah, it's a very weird thing. Yeah. But it's always the case you go like look through and go, oh, I wonder if I'll recognize anyone's names. It's like, look, half the planet is on this thing. And of course, as soon as people realize that all they had to do is become a member and they would get their name on this thing, it's kind of like the 500,000 people that are signed up to NASA to get their name engraved like atom high on a plaque that goes to Jupiter. It's like, it's great. It's lovely. I don't know very, very many people who actually tried to look up their name on this list.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly hadn't realized it was a thing, to be fair. 'Cause I hadn't, in terms of this cut of the film, I hadn't really watched this far into the credits. I've watched it with commentary, so I stopped when they get to the end of the commentary tracks.
Yeah.
Or the end of Let It Be, because, God, that's a beautiful song.
That's true. You have to feel for them. Commentary tracks as well, like, were a huge thing at this point. And as we discussed last time as well, the stars, they recorded bits of the scenes they were in, they stitched it together. There was a bit of banter. It was okay. The Hobbits was all clearly recorded together. That's a lot more interesting. And of course, Peter Jackson. But the challenge was when you suddenly look at something like this and you're like, oh, we're going to be here a while. Suddenly, even the best actor or director just goes, yeah, I've run out of stories.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if a commentary gets anywhere into the credits, I'm kind of impressed because I don't expect that. I expect it to basically get to the film, maybe that first stretch for credits that runs through the director, producers, and the core cast at best. So it's kind of nice if they do go further, but I've never expected that. It's always been a pleasant surprise.
A couple have, of course, the infamous one. I think it's Dodgeball. So on Dodgeball, I think this was all a setup as well. They talked through a chunk of it, and I think they covered all the characters that they wanted to. And they really did. You know, they wanted to get Matthew Broderick, who was obviously like some of the extras or smaller parts in Dodgeball are about as famous as the leads. You know.
Yeah.
But then at one point, you just hear them go, "Look, we kind of said all we want to say about this. Is there anything we can do?" It's like, well, we've got one of the other Farrelly brothers like commentaries from one of their other films, and they're like, well, just play that. And so they do. So at least half, I think it's Dodgeball. My goodness, if anyone listens to this right now, I would be frigging amazed.
Yeah.
But if someone ever does, like if our civilization gets destroyed and like AI, some creatures come down and kind of try and figure out, and this happens to be one of the recordings that they dig up, could you find out which of the films it was where they just switched the commentary tracks? And the thing is, it runs all the way through the credits, and then you just hear a person switch it off. It's genius. I loved it.
That's brilliant. I don't think I'd heard that before, to be fair.
There is one where there is at least one or two tracks where they've talked all the way through, and then literally as the final production company comes up, they're like, "Oh shit, we better go." Like I can't even remember which one it is, but it was like someone where they had a really good time. Like they all liked each other, they got together and stuff. And like a couple of years after this as well, I did my first commentary track for something that I shot. And that was really weird because it was me, because I'd shot a feature film, and it was me, the director, I think the editor, I think, and maybe one of the stars. And we were just at somebody's house. I don't even know whose house we were at. Like, it was really weird. And they just bought loads of snacks. Like, they went overboard on snacks. And so half of the commentary track is just us eating crisps, really noisy. And the director like talking about his artistic style and influences. And I was like, and I just put the camera here. And really pretentious shit.
Yeah,
I've still got the DVD though, so one day I might send it to you so we can actually do this as a commentary.
That actually sounds like it could be quite funny. To be fair, that could be interesting.
Should we? Because I don't have. I mean, especially after yesterday. Look, we've done the entirety of Fellowship. There has not been a gap for breath. We have done a absolutely fine job. So I think we should allow ourselves a good 10 minutes off.
I think that's a good plan.
Down.
Yeah, that sounds wise. I'm starting to enter that meat coma phase after my US style barbecue dinner. So too much pulled pork and brisket, I think. So I think that's a wise decision to make on both counts. So on that note,
by the way,
folks,
can someone let us know? By the way, if you've listened to this, can you just let us know? Because I don't think anyone will. I genuinely don't think anyone will. If anyone does, I would be just so. I'd just be so chuffed.
It does a lot to boost the ego to know that someone's listened to it.
Oh, it's also it's more so I can reach out to them and check if they're okay.
That as well. If you've listened this far, get in touch so we can send help. So we can recommend a helpline, because...
Oh, I'll tell you what we can do, though. No, very quickly. Now, because I got you on a call, and because we normally just talk to each other when we're on these things anyway.
Yeah.
Because, let's face it, we don't normally talk about the thing we're meant to be talking about. We just talk about other shit instead.
Well, yeah.
How was the commentary on Predator?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Snipe was delightful. Gruff wrangled us as best he could. I mean, it was wonderful.
Good.
I'm kind of tempted to try and do other films in the franchise with Snipe if they're game, but I need to ask that question. I really look forward to. I want to see how it hits, how people react to it when it comes out, though, because I am really proud of it.
Good.
Because we did. It's funny. I came to a realization earlier on, and it's kind of partly sobering because I never thought I'd make a comparison like this before.
Okay.
Because we mentioned yesterday that I don't have I'd never write scripts for any of the stuff I do with you or with Gruff or anything like that.
Yeah.
I do everything kind of off the top of my head, digging into my brain for bits of nuggets of information to spew into the ether. And whenever I've done a chat with anyone, either on the Fluff and Chatters or, for example, that commentary with Snipe, I try really hard to make it like a just a relaxed environment to talk through things and to try and. I'm not one to try and push things, but I'd rather create an atmosphere where people feel like they're free to just go off on those tangents and stuff that intrigues them. It's going to sound. Some people might think I'm saying this to sound a bit off myself.
No,
I'm generally not. It just
go on.
occurred to me. So I was reading an article on Joe Rogan earlier on today, and I've never listened to his podcasts ever because I kind of find him a tad insufferable. But the logic behind his show, his reasoning for how he presents his show, that the whole idea was to create an environment where someone could come on with. They didn't have to work to a time limit for an ad break or anything like that, or a set slot on a broadcast state channel, and just provide an environment where people could just kind of shoot shit.
Yep.
To be honest, and know it was a safe environment to talk about things, anything that kind of came to mind, and there'd not be no judgment, but Rogan wanted to create an environment where people would be comfortable to talk about things that they wouldn't be comfortable talking about in reality, not in reality, but in other environments, to kind of get a bit more of themselves across that they couldn't do in a more structured interview environment. And part of me was like, hang on, I have put together multiple conversations with people where we've gone on for several hours. Shit, I'm doing what he does, aren't I? God damn it. And part of me's not sure if that's a flattering comparison or not. I certainly wish I had his money, but I'm not entirely sure I'd like to be Joe Rogan, to be fair.
I think, and this is, I hope this is also taken the right way by you as well. So there were discussions regarding that where I felt that Adam would be a better fit.
Yeah.
And that's nothing against Swipe, absolutely nothing, because love to cover some films.
Yeah.
But I just felt that in terms of the balance, I thought it would be a good fit with Adam there instead of me. And, I used to do that with other teams and podcasts. It's like, you can't, it's like the Police Academy films. And go with me on this one. The Police Academy films only worked when you had a likable, goofy hero, and you had the sidekicks, and you had the kind of token comic characters, and then you had the extreme one, the crazy one. There's a reason why you didn't have just a cast of crazy people or a cast of heroes.
You need that balance.
You need the balance. And you need that. You really need that on podcasts. And I just thought it would just, I just thought it would get out, especially on a film like that. Like, you could riff on that for ages, but I'm really pleased. I'm really looking forward to that one. I'm really kind of excited to see how that one goes. Yeah. But did you get the chance to show the trailer?
I tried to show the Predator the musical clip, but I don't think it worked as well as I wanted it to.
Oh,
okay. I think because I was trying to show. I'm not entirely sure if it came across on the audio, so there's a good chance that Gruff may end up just kind of like chopping the front of it off to go straight into the show proper. But it was a nice attempt, I think, on my part. I tried.
Oh, brilliant! That's all good.
But no, it was a wonderful experience. It kind of gave me a bit of confidence for stepping out. It's the fact that I felt a bit odd even approaching Snipe to ask if she'd like to do it. But fair play to her, she was wonderfully game.
Cool.
And we had a few issues getting things organised because there'd been a few illnesses which had messed people around. And we were able just to get it all come together last week. And I think it came out. Hopefully it comes out wonderfully. But,
well, that's the thing as well. People are huge fans of films and that type of film as well. It's most of the time it's even like going out to people in Hollywood. The whole deal is always availability. So as you go up the scale, especially like we were talking about Bricky, for instance, before the recording started. Now, I've not reached out to Bricky. No, Bricky is not suddenly turning up on the Fluff and Hammer. Calm down, people. But if we were to go out to, if he was free and if it was like a really interesting topic, I get the feeling he'd be like, yeah, sure, we can make it work. If if it fits in with the schedule, it's not like it's a nasty thing. But if he's busy and if he needs to take care of stuff, then he needs to take care of stuff.
Absolutely.
And you think about the commitments that even people who have small YouTube or Twitch channels or audiences they need to do. The amount of like maintenance and the focus on like creating content and stuff like that. So for the bigger channels, it must be a real challenge. It's something
and I mean,
that
he's got his whole merch store as well.
Yeah,
that is by all accounts a very successful site.
I'm gonna have a word as well with Chris McFeely. The next time. I don't know if he'll be at the TF Nation Reading, but if our paths cross again, because obviously I've known Chris for a long time as well.
Yeah.
But like he is currently, I think, 230,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah, he
Like,
had a bit of a bump from TF1 videos, from what I gather, which is wonderful.
But you just think as well. It's like this is Chris who is committed. He's a lovely guy, lovely guy. But it must be fascinating to hear about just the amount of commitment or the amount of just going in and sorting out crap when you have technically close to 250,000 people that are subscribing, and it's just like that's nuts.
And even if just like a percentage of those are commenting as well on your videos, and if you have to, if you're trying to moderate those comments yourself, I dread to imagine what that must be like.
Yeah, I've heard some weird things actually, especially about YouTube comments and weird stuff that goes on there. So there we go. I should let you go because I've used up a large chunk of I mean, we're through to S. I didn't really have the heart to go through to the end. I think if we do Return of the King, I'm actually just going to start playing music and reading from a book, just so that we stay until the end of the third and final film, because that would probably be more commitment than most people had in the cinema.
I mean, I can say hand on heart, I've never gotten that far through Return of the King's credits, so yeah, that checks out.
That'd be good then. And finally, by the way, I did see earlier on in the credits that a Mr. Christopher Lee was a member of this fan club. And you know what? I bet you it was the Christopher Lee.
That would not surprise me in the slightest.
What a guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, if anyone ever hears this,
if you've gotten this far, thank you so much.
We'll see you for the next one.
Yes, we'll have to work out what we do next, to be fair. So
who knows what film we'll do after the first Lord of the Rings film.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like there's another Lord of the Rings related movie coming out in 2 months' time.
Gosh. Oh gosh. we'll see. Actually, no. Can we? Sorry, I'm now. We're on V. I'm sticking around.
You want to check? You want to check that?
Well, I was going to, but the credits.
Go straight to Woodcock.
I just want to see if because I don't know if I was a member at this point. So all we have to wait is for WH. So we should be there in a second.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, though, it's got to be said, if anyone does have a surname beginning with X, Y, or Z, I'm sorry, we are going to let you down here.
Yeah, sorry, we've gotten too far.
David Wormer.
I saw a Kenneth Watanabe up there. I was wondering, would that be Adam White?
There you go. That's it. I can rest easy. My work is done.
Excellent. On which note, folks, we're going to call it a show with that one. So, Adam,
Goodbye.
thank you as ever.
Hey,
If you've listened to this,
it's been wonderful. Thank you so much
it
for
has.
this.
I've enjoyed this. We've barely talked about the film, but it's been such fun nattering about it. And folks, if you've gotten this far, it's terribly appreciated. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And bye-bye.
Bye.